Crusadia is the way. You can see here in this match, we are just playing some open standard mode, and we're going up against Swordsoul, one of the decks that will not be viable in the event coming up for January 17th, 2023, where you can basically only use solo mode archetypes. So if you want to see the deck list, skip ahead to whatever was noted on the screen here, but we're going to break this match down. Our opponent starts off pretty strong with a decent opening board. They opt to go for, what is this one? Yugioh and the Chisao. So even if they went for Baron or Chen Yang, it didn't matter because we have the Kaiju in hand. So we're going to have to deal with one monster negate. Again, you will probably see this in the actual event where you have to deal with like multiple boss monsters. Maybe two, yes, but most likely not more than that, because things like Adamantipator, where they put up like 10 negates and a bunch of monsters, won't be in that event. So we're still dealing with two pretty powerful monsters, and we have to get rid of the one that banishes cards, because if our monster gets banished, that kind of ends our turn. So thankfully, again, this will not be in the event, but you can see that Crusadia can still put up a good fight against meta decks. This is like a top tier deck, right? Swordsoul. So we Kaiju off the Yugioh for the Kaiju, and now we have to deal with an anti-spell. Usually not going to be a big deal because we only have one spell anyways, and you don't need the field spell to do well with this deck, but it is helpful. So our opponent actually shotguns their Chisao, so they must not know about Crusadia, but even if they negated the Link 1, we were most likely going to be okay. So unfortunately, we did have two copies of each of the same Crusadia monsters, Arborea and Maximus, but that's still fine. You just need two Crusadia monsters to really get this combo off, assuming that your search from the Link 1 doesn't get negated by an Ash Blossom. So we didn't have anything to chain block this with, like you normally would go for the, or if you had the Graveyard Recursion Draco in hand, it's called Crusadia Draco, it would chain block the Magus for you here so that you can bring the Arborea from the graveyard back to your hand. So you would chain link 1 Magus, or Magus, I don't know how to say it, and then chain link 2 the Draco so that they can't Ash Blossom this. And as long as this doesn't get negated, you're fine. So if it gets impermed or Ash Blossomed, you might be in a little bit of a rough spot, but if this goes through, we now have 3 different Crusadia names that we can work through, and that's perfect. So if you actually break this down, we go normal summon Arborea, link off for the Link 1, and then we special summon Arborea again to the Link zone. So we've used the normal and the special summon of Arborea, so we can't use this for the rest of the turn here, right? So that's why we didn't opt to search for the Draco to do the Graveyard Recursion, because if we brought Arborea back to our hand, we couldn't really use it again since we used it for the special summon, right? So it would be useless. So instead, we opt to normal summon and then special summon, and now Arborea is out of the equation. We're dealing with Reclusia and Maximus now for our special summon. So we summon out Reclusia, and we're going to actually use this effect when we special summon it to destroy itself or target itself for destruction and pop the anti-spell, just in case the opponent has something here, like an effect Veiler, I guess, or like something. Well, I guess effect, yeah, so anything to negate us. We have a crossout designator that's live, so we want to get this anti-spell out of the way. So this is what's nice about the deck, because you do have the functioning search with the Link 1. You can search for destruction, you can search for Graveyard Recursion, you can search for whatever utility you need, again, as long as it doesn't get negated. And we didn't have a Cosmic Cyclone, we didn't have a Feather Duster, we didn't have a Lightning Storm to start the turn off where we could have used it to clear the back row. I mean, in this instance, anti-spell, we wouldn't have been able to activate any spells anyways, a Cosmic or anything, if they activated this in the like draw phase, standby phase. I guess we could chain the quick spell Cosmic, but I'm not going to get into that too much. But essentially, you can see that the deck has a bunch of utilities. So with the anti-spell now destroyed thanks to Reclusia, and then Reclusia getting saved from destruction of itself with banishing the Arborea from the graveyard, we search Field Spell with the Regulux, and we activate Field Spell, which is going to give us 500 attack, and also allow us to target our Link 3 when we summon it to attack everything on the field at once. So we have cleared out the back row, which is what we want. That's great. We now bring out the Equimax, and it's going to get 2800 extra attack from this Kaiju here. We special summon the Maximus, and this is the one. If you didn't have Maximus in hand already, this is most likely what you have to search, because this is what's going to double your damage when you attack into a monster. And so you absolutely need this. So if we look at this here, we're going to be up to 6900 attack, okay? And that's going to deal like 4100 points of damage when we attack into the Kaiju or the Chisao, because it also has 2800 attack. 4100 times 2 with the Maximus effect, now going to basically buff the Equimax so that it deals double damage when it attacks a monster. It's dealing 8200 damage. With the Revival field spell, we target the Equimax again so that it can make make attacks on up to amount of monsters my opponent has. So I can attack into the Kaiju and I can attack into the Chisao, dealing like 16,000 points of damage if I really needed it. If I wasn't going to OTK with one attack already. But we are going to OTK, so we just attack into the Chisao, and you can see here, lowly, cheap, good old Crusadia taking out a top tier like Swordsoul. So let's go ahead and look at the deck list. Alright, so this is the Crusadia deck list that you'll want to play for the event. It's essentially free to play. I'm going to take out all of the additional cards that I added in and just show you what the core engine looks like for this deck. You can see the main deck is nothing but normals and rares. You really don't need to play more than this for the core. All the other extra cards are just like supplements to help support the deck. The extra deck, you really only need the core cards as well. You can see in the match that I played, I didn't summon anything outside of what was basically needed, which was Link 1, Link 2, and Link 3. This is the utility Crusadia card. You most likely won't use it, but it's just in there just in case. But this is the core deck. And if you were playing it like this, a really stripped down version, you probably want a third Magius and a second Equimax. I'm going to craft a second one. You definitely want at least 2. You can opt to play 3 Regulix as well, so 3 of each of the Link 1 and Link 2. But 2 of each is fine if you're playing other utility with the deck. So if I show you the full deck list here and how I kind of fleshed it out, opting to play the hand traps, Maxi and Ash Blossom, these are staples in every deck. They're legal for this event, so you do want to make sure that you're playing those. You should have them. I don't think that people not having them is really a big deal. But another alternative is also playing Drolden Lockbird. I think this event, because a lot of the power combos and unbreakable boards that you see in standard mode, I shouldn't say unbreakable, but very hard to break boards, you're not going to see that really in this event because it is limited to the solo archetypes. And again, this is called Theme Chronicle. So what you're going to want to focus on is resource management, I think, a little bit more in this event. And because of that, people are going to be trying to set up, I think, their hands and their boards for further plays into turns 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could be wrong, but if that is the case, Drolden Lockbird might be very powerful in this format, because if you think about something like Monarch, which will probably see a lot of play, they aren't going to really set up an OP opening board, right? They're all about, I need to tribute off and set up like the OTK, not OTK, but like set up control with the Monarch cards, right? And they're adding cards to their hand, they're drawing with their Monarch spells, they're banishing cards and bringing stuff back, adding stuff to their hand, searching for stuff. And if you can stop that with Drolden Lockbird, it'll really help stop their resource management. And then when they pass the turn over to you, you know that you can kind of go through and complete your combo. So Drolden Lockbird is also an option, but the real core combo of this deck is you basically need 2 Crusadia monsters, and then you can kind of go full combo from there, like you saw in that clip that I played. Now this is contingent on your Magius not getting negated. It can get Ash Blossom. If you can chain block it, it's even better. So what you normally would want to do is, if you already have the Draco in hand, because this revives from the graveyard, you normal summon one of the Crusadia monsters, link off into the Link 1, and then if you already had the Draco in hand, with the Link 1, you special summon the Draco to the Link slot here, and you chain link 1 the Magus here, and then you chain link 2 the Draco. And what this will do is prevent your opponent from Ash Blossoming the Link 1 search. If you don't have this Draco in your hand, you will likely be searching it with the Link 1 Magus here, and if it does get negated, that can shut down your combo. But if you have 3 Crusadia monsters in your hand, then you're fine, because then you don't really need the search, because you're normal summoning 1 monster, then you're special summoning a second one to this link zone, and then when you link off into the Link 2, you're special summoning the third one into this link zone, and then you're tributing those off into the Link 3. 6 Kaijus I think is pretty standard. Just you don't want more than that because you don't want to risk bricking, but you do want to see probably at least 1, which is nice. And then more draw power in the Pot of Desires, just because you play multiple copies of each card, so having some of them banished isn't a big deal. The 1-ofs that you're playing, like the 2 Crusadia spells, this is searchable by the Link 2. They're not super critical. They are very beneficial though if you can get them. So you saw in that clip I searched for the field spell, which did make the difference. The extra 500 attack helped put me over the 8,000 damage that I needed to win in that one attack against that opponent. But usually, depending on if you can clear the opponent's back row or not, you might want to search the Crusadia power, because this makes it like if they have an imperm set and they're waiting for your Equimax to hit the field and then imperm your Equimax, you can Crusadia power and then your Equimax is unaffected, and you can obviously chain this from your hand because it's a quick play spell. So there's a bunch of different utility based on what you're able to do, but I do play a lot of back row removal, the Duster, the Lightning Storm. You can play more Lightning Storm if you want, but it is an ultra rare, and I already have Cosmics, so I thought people aren't probably going to set up huge back rows necessarily, so like having a Cosmic over a Lightning Storm probably isn't going to be the biggest deal. But if you really wanted to play this deck a little bit more seriously, probably 3 Lightning Storms would be ideal, but not necessary. I don't think, at least not yet. We'll see right when the event starts. But overall, this is a pretty consistent deck list. The Call Buys and the Nobleman of Crossout is basically for negating Ash Blossom, which is again why I play Ash Blossom too, is because, I mean, you play one of a Nobleman, but it does help to negate an Ash Blossom because this card can shut you down. You are special summoning from the extra deck, which means, Max C is really good against you as well. Whereas Max C is kind of dead against Monarchs because I don't think they really special summon all that much, right? They're tributing off most of the time. They have some special summons, but not very many. So there is that. Also, I think Nibiru is legal for this event, and you are special summoning more than 5 times in one turn. So you do have to be careful of playing around Nibiru. So this deck isn't invincible by any means. It does have a lot of weaknesses, but you can see the power of the deck, right? Nibiru probably will see a lot of play in this event. So if you're trying to play around Nibiru, that is something to consider. But, every deck, no deck is perfect, right? Every deck has some kind of weakness. And Nibiru, I think, would be, it basically shuts down your turn. Doesn't mean it's game over, but it would make it very hard for you to come back. Because you are going second, your opponent is also clearing their board that they set up. It's not like you're going first and setting up an amazing board and then they just Nibiru everything you have. They're likely Nibiruing through their stuff that they set up turn 1 as well. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's game over. Now, aside from the core of the deck, you do have some other utility and alternative win conditions. So with Parallel Exceed, because it's a Cyberse and you link summoning off, if you can get 2 of these on the field, you can make a link 4 to Garrus to draw 2 more cards. So again, more draw power. This also allows you to double the attackable monster, which can be helpful as well. So again, depending on your situation, Dugaris can have some utility to help you win that turn. Obviously, this card has a huge drawback, right? So with whatever effect you use. So this is usually like you win that turn or you're going to be in really bad shape and unlikely to win the rest of the duel. I don't play Unicorn, so I'm playing one of each Cerberus and the Phoenix. These are just, again, monster and back row removal. Usually you won't play those very much, but if you have them, most people do, and they're only super rare. They're good utility cards. Alternative win conditions, Update Jammer, and the Ragister. So if you have 2 of these on the field, you could link them off into Update Jammer, and then you can make a Rasterliger, I think is the name, as a link 4, and then you target the Update Jammer in the graveyard with this effect to target 1 link monster in your graveyard. It gains attack, so it's going to gain an extra 2,000 from the Update Jammer, and with the Update Jammer ability, you're going to be able to attack twice. So again, 2 times 4,000, 8,000 damage. This works on an open board. You just attack straight twice in a row for 4,000 each. You deal 8,000 damage. So if you don't have a Kaiju or you're able to clear the opponent's board, maybe they have like 2 attack mode monsters and no back row, and you're just like, well, I have Lightning Storm in my hand. You're playing 3 Lightning Storm, let's say. You Lightning Storm all their monsters and you have an Exceed in your hand. And so you're like, I'll just go for the Update Jammer play and just go Ragister because I don't have a Kaiju. My opponent, I can clear off my opponent's board. I don't have to worry about any back row. So there's those alternative win conditions as well. Setting up a Mech Knight Crusadia. So if you do get stopped, if you get ashed, if you get Maxied and you don't want to try to play through the Maxi, or you're worried about Nibiru or something, you can set up an IP Masquerena play with whatever other link monster, and then either go into Avermax during the opponent's turn or just go into it during your turn. This is a very hard monster to out. It's very powerful, obviously, so having this as a backup utility is very good. Now, this card is free. You get this in like one of the beginning game structure decks, so everybody should have that. Update Jammer as a common, so very easy to craft. The Mech Knight Crusadia, an ultra rare. Again, you probably won't make this very often, so I don't think it's needed, but it is a good additional utility. I honestly think you'd be better in crafting more Lightning Storms rather than this, but I could be wrong. Up to you what you want to do, but here's the deck list. That's how I built it. You saw that it can compete at the top tier with like Swordsoul, and it's definitely going to be good in the event, and it's very, very cheap to make, so you can get all your gems very quickly without suffering a lot of losses, hopefully. But that's the deck, and let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, guys. Quantum is out.